everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. So here's one that I'm plenty excited to talk about. I didn't realize that I love this so much. I'd always said that this was a trope that I don't love very much, and you know what? There we go. When one of my viewers suggested that I do this as a topic, I was like, I don't really like this that much. And that's a lie, because I actually really do like this trope. It's just like with any trope, if it's done badly, it's really not fun. But I've found this trope done pretty well, pretty often lately. So that, if you can't tell by the title, is romances with children in them. So I have done a video before that is a governess / nanny video, and there's going to be some crossover. But in case you didn't watch that one because you're either new to my channel or you know, are like, oh, I don't want the governess trope, this one's going to have a mix of both. So I'm going to start with my historical recs for this, and then we'll go into some contemporary. But I thought it would be fun, you know? I make really specific niche trope videos. That's what I do. That's my thing. And yeah, it's going to be great. So let's go ahead and dive in. I want to start with, where do we start? I have 4 of these and they're by my 4 favorite historical romance authors. So it's so much fun. Let's start with this one because the cover is delicious. Let's start with The Devil's Daughter by Lisa Kleypas. So this is book 4 or 5 in the Ravenels. I think it's 5. Yeah, I think it's 5. And this is about Sebastian's daughter, whose name is Phoebe, and she is a widow. She lost her husband and she has 2 children. And this is about West, who West has been around since the beginning of this series. West Ravenel is, I love him. We've got to see him grow a lot. He is a former rake and wastrel, and he used to be a bit of a chubby drinker, and then he got sober and he's helped his brother, I think his brother's name is Devin, I can't remember what the brother's name is, clean up their estate when they took over, and I love him. And so this is the story of Devin, or not Devin, West was actually a bully to, I say that, I'll tell you why, a bully to Phoebe's husband who died. They went to the same school, and so she was lifelong friends of her deceased husband, and he was a very sickly man, and he died young. And she knew he was going to die young, but she still married him and had 2 kids with him, and now her brother marries West's cousin. I think they're cousins, and so they end up meeting each other in this situation, and there's just an instant connection, and she's really fighting it because she knows that he was a bully to her husband, but there is some more nuance to that than what is obviously on the surface. And I really like how her father, Sebastian, who, you know, was the devil back in the day, is able to give some insight to, you know, people change. And also, when your husband was writing you letters about him, he was a child, and there may be more nuance to this than you think. And so she has 2 sons, and I think they're really adorable. They're a really important part of the plot because we get to see West kind of be an influence on them, and that's one of my favorite things. You're going to see that come up again. But what I love, especially when it's a single mother, is getting to see a man come in and be a really good example to them. And it just makes me really happy. So then, oh my gosh, you know I got to bring up a Julia Quinn. And so I want to bring up To Sir Phillip with Love. This is book number 5. And ready for it? I'm collecting the hardcovers of these. This is the back. It's also the step back if you have the paperback. Oh my gosh. So this is about Eloise. And Eloise has been writing letters to her widower. I think he was married to her cousin and she died. I think so. And she's been writing letters to him, and he proposes to her through a letter. And so Eloise is a spinster. This book actually takes place the same time as Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. So everything, because Penelope is her best friend, so everything that's happening with Penelope and Colin is like nobody noticed what happened with Eloise, which I thought was a really clever thing for Julia to do, because there's a certain storyline, obviously I won't ruin it for you if you haven't read this series yet, that it is getting wrapped up. And I think a lot of people, granted, I came to this series after it was already out, but I think a lot of people were like, well, what's going to happen next now that you have kind of ended that secret? Sorry, the window's open because it got kind of warm today and someone's driving. And anyway, this was the answer to that. So this one, oh, it's so good. But it started with their letters. So instead of having the lady whistle down clips at the beginning of everything, you have clips from letters, which I really enjoyed. And so what Eloise does is she's actually run away to see him. And so she's kind of like fallen in love with him. And Eloise wants to marry him, but she's like, but I need to meet him first. So she literally runs away to his home and wants to meet him first. And he's nervous about that because he has 2 kids who are kind of hellions, which is kind of a pattern you'll see. And so he's like, dang it, if she meets my kids first, I might not woo her. But Eloise grew up in a home with 7 other kids, and so she knows all the things that kids can do, and they've definitely chased away a governess or 2 in their time. So, and she's not a governess, she's a potential new mother. Of course, her brothers will eventually find out that she's gone, and that won't make them too happy, but I adore this. The thing that I love about the hardbacks, the ones with these on the back, is just how big and beautiful the picture is. It makes me so happy. I love it. Okay, then we do have 2 that are governesses, so I'll show those. This is The Highlander by Kerrigan Byrne. This is book 3 in the Victorian Rebels. You know that if there is a historical romance recommendation for me to do, I'm gonna put a Victorian rebel in there, because there is a rebel for every recommendation video, for every theme. I got one for you, okay? So this one is about the Demon Highlander, Liam Mackenzie. He's also a Mackenzie. Here we go. And then Miss Philomena, who all of these books have really like gut-wrenching beginnings. So Philomena, she has been put in a mental asylum, which is horrible, and she is being tortured there. And so she isn't really crazy. The reason she's being kept there is reasons, not going to tell you, but people wanted her ruled insane so that they can take certain things from her. And so she's able to escape, and then she gets help from actually our previous loves in the series. So I think it's Christopher who actually comes to save her, maybe. But she gets rescued, and so they kind of put her in witness protection by changing her name a little, and it just so happens that they know this guy, Liam Mackenzie, that they send her to be a governess to his 2 children. So we get to see his children. She goes under the name Miss Mina, and she's trying to help his children be ready for life and to be helpful to Liam. And of course, he starts falling for her. And I love it. I really love the Demon Highlander. I just love all these books. They make me so happy. And he's wearing a kilt, so make it happen. All of these have Scottish people in them. Most all of Kerrigan's books do. So far that I've read, they all have like Scottish in them somewhere. But I love that one. This one too has Scottish because favorite, and he's also wearing a kilt. So this is Rules for a Proper Governess, and this one is so unique. So this is part of the Mackenzie McBride series, which a lot of people stop reading after they've read the Mackenzie books, and I totally get it. I understand. But there are 2 specific of the McBride ones that are my favorites, and that is The Seduction of Elliot McBride. I really like that one. And then this one, which is Rules for a Proper Governess, which is book 7. So it comes after The Wicked Deeds of Daniel Mackenzie. And so if you don't know how the McBride-Mackenzie book connects, it's that one of the wives of one of the Mackenzies, I think is it Cam's wife? I think it's Cam's wife. She's a McBride, and she has 4 brothers, okay? And one of those is Sinclair, and so he's actually a barrister, so he works in the courts, and we get to see him at the beginning kind of defending this woman who is accused of murder. or stealing. I think she's accused of murder. And there's this woman, Birdie, who her name is Roberta Fraser. So we have a Fraser and a McBride, which is just great. And she is just kind of in awe of him. She thinks he's kind of sexy, and so she actually steals some money from him because she's a pickpocket, and she gets away with it. But she steals something really important to him. She steals something that belonged to his dead wife. So not great. And then they have an encounter, and he's like, just give me back that certain thing. You can have the money, but like I need that. I think it's his watch. It might be his watch. So she's just kind of like shook with him. Well, then a little later on, I can't remember if it's like weeks or days or months or whatever, she runs into the Governess with his children, and they are in kind of a dangerous situation, and the Governess just leaves. And so Birdie rescues his children, brings them home, and then waits for him to show up. And so he ends up kind of haranguing her into being a governess for his kids. And of course he's going to pay her for it until he can get someone to replace her. And he actually definitely has some naughty kids. He has some pretty naughty kids, which I don't mind a naughty kid. Like, they just want love. They just want someone to love them. I especially love when it's like a daddy who has naughty kids. A father, sorry, it just slipped into I like a daddy who has naughty kids, but he like indulges them because he loves them. But the kids aren't really bad. They're just wanting attention. And so he gives them everything they want, but he's not giving them attention. And I love it. So check this out. If you have read the Mackenzies, but you don't know about the McBrides, I do suggest in that series to read books 1 through 7, because I enjoy the Seduction of Elliot McBride. That's about a scarred war hero. And then this one, Rules for a Proper Governess, is great too. So, all right, that is it for the historicals. Let's go into the contemporaries. So the first one I want to talk about, again, there's some crossover with the nanny and governess ones here, but I'll go kind of quickly through those because I've talked about them before. I have A Nordic King by Karina Halle. This is about a king of Norway. I think he's of Norway. Yes, of Norway. And he needs a governess for his kids. And I think she's Australian. I might be making that up. Oh no, he's the king of Denmark, not of Norway. And she feels like really unprepared for it. His name is Axel. Her name is, I can't remember her name. Her name is Aurora. And yeah, I just really like this one. This one's really sexy. Karina Halle, she's amazing. These are the kind of books of hers that I really like. I'm kind of hot and cold with Karina Halle. I've read some that I love and some that bore me to tears. This is one I really liked. I really love Axel. There's an age gap happening in this one as well. I think he is super sexy. He's very serious. He has some dark secrets going on. And then one of the things I really loved about this one too is it's a case where the hero falls a lot faster for the heroine than she does for him. But because he's a king and an employer and she's from a different country, he's very cautious about how much of himself he shares with her and about he doesn't want to pressure her into a relationship. And I really enjoy the thought process of that for him, that he's actively aware of like, I hold all the power here and I can't just push myself on this girl like I would if I was a regular dude. And I really like that being brought up. And again, he has 2 beautiful kids. So this one says a forbidden romance of royal proportions. And it's great. I think all of these ones are on KU. So check them out. All right. Then we have an old favorite, Irresistible by Melanie Harlow. This is my first ever Melanie Harlow. And I adore her. I love her. This is good old Fanny and Mac. And this is another age gap. It's not a huge one. Mac is a bit of, you know, he's a bit damaged. This is also a former military dad. He is like, I think he's like 35 and she's 25 or something like that. You know, it's not a huge thing. Fanny has a heart condition, so she was babied by her family when she was little. So they've really kept her close and stuff like that. But she's a nanny for Mac, who works for her family, and he has 3 daughters. Oh, sigh. And so she will nanny for him sometime. She also, they work together off and on because she will be there helping her family with things, and He like does the books maybe. Yeah, I love it. He's so sexy. I love Karina, or not Karina, Halle. I love Melanie Harlow's men. I love this entire series. These are also on KU. And his daughters are so cute. And it has that thing where, like, the daughters figure out what's going on and the adults think they're being really sneaky. And I love it. I love his daughters. They're amazing. Then I want to mention real quick one that I just read. This one is One Last Time by Corinne Michaels. Corinne Michaels, when Audible Escape went away, there wasn't as many romances by as many popular authors that got pulled over to Audible Escape. And so it's good because it was helping me find authors that I wasn't normally picking up. And in that, I found Corinne Michaels. And this one is the second book in the series. It's the second one in a series about these 4 best friends who are finding love with kind of like rich and famous guys. They're either rich or they're famous. And this one is about an actor and a divorced mom. She's pretty recently divorced from her husband, and so she has a new job. She's like back in the working world after her husband, like, he didn't want her to work, but then he eventually starts to like blame her for not working, and meanwhile he's been cheating on her all this time, and it sucks. And her new job is to be kind of like a blogger, which isn't what she's used to doing. But because her friend, who was in the previous book, is married to a famous singer and like boy band member, he's not a boy anymore. They're like in their 40s. Like, these are middle-aged romances, kind of, right? No offense, but the problems of the people in these books aren't quite the same as mine. But she's like, hey, my husband, he works with Noah, who's this famous actor, and Noah actually thinks you're pretty cute, so maybe he would give you an interview. And so she ends up getting an interview with Noah, and Noah continues to give her interviews because he wants to spend time with her, and it's adorable, and it's great. And this whole series was like a gut punch, but it was also so good. Like, every one of these books has had something that just punched me in the gut, but also it doesn't last for a long time. Like, the dark moment isn't really drawn out, and I feel like for all of them, they've been like legit dark moments. You know what I mean? Like, there was a reason why we got to this point, and I liked them. I liked it a lot. It was great. So then, Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. This one just has one. Oh wait, I didn't even say about the last one. She has 2 kids. One of them's really into Harry Potter and him and Noah Bond. I'm sorry. These are books about the children, and I just got all swoony about Noah. I didn't tell you who the kids were. But she has 2 kids, and they're adorable. And Noah just wins them over. Yeah, there you go. But Tools of Engagement, this is about a younger guy who, it isn't his kid, so it's actually his niece. His sister has some drug problems, and she basically like drops his niece in his lap. And so he moves home to Texas to take care of his 5-year-old niece, and he's only like 26 himself. So he's not that old, and he's taking on this niece of his, and he has no idea how to do it. That's what I love about this one. So this one is an older woman book. So his love interest is Bethany, who we've seen in previous books in the series. And she is, I think, 10 years older than him, and they end up, this is a workplace situation. It's also a hate to love, mostly on her side. He thinks she's super sexy and wants to get with her, and she's like, he's too young, he's a stupid kid, there's all these things she doesn't like about him. And I really liked it because in this one, like, Bethany, not super interested in having a kid in her life, but I love it because they're both so awkward with taking care of this little girl. Because number one, for him, it's not his kid. It's one thing if it was a young single dad who's like used to it, like what's his name? Wes, he's just trying to stumble his way through this and be there for his niece. And then Bethany, she thinks he's super sexy, but she's like, you know, she's like, I don't know if I'm a good example to her, and there's a lot of feelings with it. So I really love this one. I thought it was so sweet, and I just adored Wes and Bethany together. Like, it was amazing. They were really sexy. Tessa Bailey's books are always sexy, but Wes was the dirty talk in her books. She does dirty talk so good. I should make a video about that. I need to make a dirty talk video. All right, the last one I got to bring up. Do you know what it is? With kids and a super sexy guy in it. I bet you can guess. The Takeover by TL Swan. Come on, you know. If you've been around at all, you know I'm going to bring this up. I got to bring it up. This has some of my favorite kids that I've ever written in a book. It has one of my favorite love interests. In fact, he's in my top book boyfriends of all time. I talk about him whenever I can. This book is about Claire and Tristan. Tristan is also a younger man, only about by 5 years. Claire is about 38. She has 3 kids, one of them being 17, almost 18, the youngest one being about like 9 or something like that. And they're all 3 boys, so it's a mom with 3 boys. And her and Tristan, they hook up, they have a hot weekend together. It actually starts as like a hate to love, but that doesn't last very long. But they hook up, have this kind of weekend fling, and then they get back to their regular lives, and Tristan is like, hey, I want to still date you. And she's like, hun, I have 3 sons. Like, you know that. You know I have kids. And he's like, yeah, but it'll be fine. And she's like, no, like there are more hearts involved than mine. And there's more people who need to love you than just me. And Tristan takes it as like, game on. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get your love. Gonna get your love. Gonna get your love now. Yeah, I just did that because Tristan is my baby. I love him so much. The things about this book that are frustrating are not the kids and not the love interest. They're Claire. Claire has a lot going on. She is a widow. She deeply loved her husband. This wasn't a case of divorce or it didn't work out. Her husband was taken from her much too soon, and she feels like she's betraying him by loving someone, and that's not something that can easily be explained away or just said, you're being stupid, Claire. There are gut-wrenching conversations and situations in this book, and it's not fun, and it's not great, and it will make you cringe and make you uncomfortable. But the way that TL Swan tells this story and brings it all back around, it's one of my favorite books I've read this year. Like I said, Tristan's my favorite book boyfriend, and I love the boys in this book. I want so badly for TL Swan to do a trilogy about the boys someday. Please, if you somehow get a hold of this video, I know you have so many other books planned and things going on, but please, please give me these boys with their own series someday. Like, I just want it so much. Yeah. So there you go. There are 9 books about a subject that I didn't think I'd want to talk about, but I do, because you know what? When kids are done well in books, it's just like anything else. Any trope, any story, anything can be done well. It's all about an author who will take the time to do it and tell the story the right way. And these are some that I think do kids in books extremely well. So I hope you give them a chance sometime. I make new videos 4 to 5 times a week. Make sure you check out channel membership sometimes. I do early releases of all my videos, as well as you could hang out and chat with me once a month where I have a private live stream, as well as other awesome perks. So make sure you check out the join button down below by the subscriptions, and hopefully I'll see you then. And now, let me show you some people who are already supporting me. Have a good day.